Welcome back. Please, come in. We resume our Black Mage only runs today in Final Fantasy V. I'm very excited to see how this run goes. After the easy romp turned chaos nightmare that was Final Fantasy I, this could go any way, and I would not be able to predict it. Unlike Final Fantasy I, where we choose a starting class at the start and played the whole game like that, this game has a dynamic class system. This allows characters to swap classes throughout the game, to adapt to boss encounters, and learn secondary abilities. Obviously, none of that helps us in this run, where we will be limited to Black Mages, but fortunately Black Mage is designed to be useful for the entire game, albeit with other jobs to support it, so at least we don't have to worry about aging out of our class. Brief introduction aside, we dive into the run. This game is a lot more cinematic than its NES counterpart, which is unsurprising. There is a cutscene remover that cuts out a lot of this, but despite learning about it through a Games Done quick run, I could not find it anywhere online, so I must suffer through these cutscenes. At the start of the game, we are introduced to our protagonist, Zeph. A meteor strikes nearby, as it does, and we meet Amnesiac Gallof, and definitely not a princess, Lena. They go off on their own to investigate the Wind Crystal, and we are immediately reunited with them. Head through a cave and join up with the pirate, Ferris. At this point we haven't unlocked our first classes, so we have no choice but to play these parts as freelancers. Fortunately, we will be unlocking our Black Mage class shortly. Never knew this random dude in the Wind Shrine gives us 5 potions just for talking to him. Wait, potions only heal 50 HP in this game? That's not great. Hopefully we can start getting high potions soon. Beat up this big bird by spamming attacks, and we get our first crystal shards and unlock our first set of jobs. This includes Black Mage, the only one that matters, so this challenge is officially underway. Back in town, we can buy our basic magic, some equipment and items, which is only potions and tents. My concern heightens. Through the canal, we face our second boss, and first boss since getting Black Magic, and our damage output does not mess around. Ship now adrift, we navigate the ship graveyard and are briefly threatened by Siren. In her alive form, we can't actually deal any damage to her. In her undead form, she is weak to fire. This is a mistake. Down to Carwin. Still no better items in the shop, which I don't like, but we do get an ice rod, which is huge. In addition to giving a 50% boost to blizzard magic damage, it can also be broken in battle to cast Blizzaga, the highest tier of blizzard magic on all enemies. We'll be able to buy these later, but having one now is a huge boon. We need to rescue a dragon from a mountain. Lena is immediately poisoned and threatened. Add a tally to the Lena gets poisoned counter, but good thing the boss isn't too bad. I can spam Blizzard to take down Magissa, and her husband is weak to sleep, and because all my damage is magic, it doesn't wake him up. Then Lena runs through this poison to get healing herbs for this dragon. Added to the tally. Dragon acquired, we can fly to Wolse. New items can be purchased, but still no better potions, and 50 HP is starting to be a problem. The castle itself has some nice items, including one in this dungeon area with deadly random encounters, but oh no, someone turned off random encounters by accident. Who could have done this? Wal Tower is in danger, so time to climb it and face our next boss, Garula. Garula is immune to sleep, and counters damaging attacks more and more aggressively as the fight goes on. I end up having to focus everyone on healing with trash potions, while Lena uses Ice Rod-empowered blizzards. It's real close, and my potion stock is nearly out, and Lena runs out of MP, but I take the W. Meteor transport onto our next area, Karnak. Once you buy anything in this shop, you are arrested for coming out of a meteor, I guess. I never realized, but the shop prices are actually lower pre- and post-prison. We are immediately freed and need to deal with the fire ship. But first, into the shops. This place has better spells, the elemental rods I've been waiting for, and still no better healing than regular potions. Okay, my lack of healing is starting to be a real problem. Into the fire ship, where we run around collecting items before facing off with Liquid Flame. Liquid Flame randomly cycles between 3 forms every time it is hit. Its damaging attacks are considerable, at least considering my terrible healing. Good thing my damage is amazing. Except against the hand form, which is immune to magic. I have to unequip one of my ice rods to punch it so it changes form. With the liquid flame destroyed, we run through the flameless Karnak castle, which is about to explode. So many fun items to grab on our way out though, including a bunch of money, an elven mantle, which can evade physical attacks, and a ribbon that I later discover I can't equip because it can't be equipped by black mages. I also get a bunch of elixirs which fully restore HP and MP. I guess that helps because I still only have regular potions. Into the ancient library to do something? I mean, I know Mid is here, but I don't remember what in the plot actually directs you to come here. Oh well. Ifrit takes down 2 of my party members, but Blizzara makes quick work of him regardless. Further on is the Byblos fight. I spam Fyra, only to realize Byblos counters my attacks, which would have become a problem if I didn't kill him so fast. And, after some Sid and Mid shenanigans, I have a boat. Head over to Crescent Island, where an earthquake creates a whirlpool to drown my boat. Which I don't think is how either of those natural disasters work, but regardless, now I don't have a boat. Spank this chocobo until the crystals come home, so I can now fly. Sid and Mid are understandably bummed that I immediately lost the boat I just got from them, but they have a plan to get me past the desert to my actual next destination, the Ronka Ruins. This sandworm fight is a real pain, and my trash healing just does not stop being a problem. Fortunately, spell damage is tuned way up compared to Final Fantasy I. Through the boring desert, briefly chase this man around town ruins, then I get teleported back to Crescent Island. Sid and Mid go to drop the chocobo back in the woods, which, my dudes, what was your plan? Once you drop the chocobo off, you don't have any way home yourselves. Anyway, the ground opens up beneath them, and they are also in the same place. There is an airship here, apparently, which they can fix up to fly. Every time I play Final Fantasy V, I forget how aggressively you burn through modes of transportation, especially in the first half of the game. You have a boat, then you don't have a boat. Then you have a dragon, but you have to leave it behind. Then you acquire a different, unrelated boat, and then a chocobo because you lost that boat too, and then you have the boat again, but it flies. And that doesn't even get into the transport nonsense you get into later. Anyway, we beat up another crab, which is the same as the earlier crab, but it hates airships instead of water ships. With it dead, we need to assault the Sky Fortress. You know, just Final Fantasy things. Then grab some adamantite from the meteor Galoof showed up near, because that's where they keep that apparently. This lets us fly higher? Hold on. Reinforcing the hull wouldn't help you fly higher. That's not how atmospheres work. The boat is heavier now, if anything. It would require more lift. This game. No matter. We ascend and fight the Flying Fortress's cannons and flamethrower defense. I have no healing, but Thundara plus Lightning Rod means healing is never an issue. And we are into the fortress. This place isn't too bad to navigate, but the boss waiting for us at the end is the first real struggle we will encounter. In the first phase of the fight, he cycles through a variety of elemental weaknesses, which is fine. I have black magic and can even switch the rods I have equipped mid-fight. Problem is, once he dies, he comes back to life and becomes completely immune to magic. So that's our first brick wall. Check it off your bingo cards. Okay. I have no choice but to use physical attacks. I have to bail, briefly, to get the best daggers I can buy at this point. I come back, and that is also not good enough. Alright, I've been skipping a bunch of fights. Maybe leveling a bit is really all I need. No, actually. Because the final problem this fight has is Maelstrom. The boss can reduce some or all of my party's HP down to single digits, which means my levels aren't going to matter because my attacks are weak enough it takes too long to kill the Archeoaevis. And while I can heal up from single digits, these stupid potions heal 50 HP. And I checked, and I can't buy better potions until World 2. So, time for problem solving. My big issue isn't really damage. Even though my weapon damage is indeed quite bad, the problem is healing. And this is when I remember, via Google, that I can buy elemental rings in the town of Istory. These aren't really useful in a normal playthrough because they are too expensive and they take up your accessory slot. But the flame ring in particular is essential to continuing this run. It makes you immune to ice damage, weak to water damage, but most importantly, lets you absorb fire, which means if I equip one to a party member, I can heal them by lighting them on fire. I continue grinding, but this time for money, and I eventually get 2. I will want 2 more for later to fully kit out my party, but these should do for now. Back into the fight, and thanks to actually having a reliable healing method, the fight is mine. Well, that difficulty came out of nowhere. Fights aside, the last crystal finally breaks. Galoof goes home, and we decide to go after him. This leads to a little bit of a boss rush. Bomb Circle has a mechanic where they revive each other when they die, but I don't actually remember how you're supposed to do this fight, so I just spam Blizzara on all of them until they run out of HP and can no longer revive each other. Easy peasy. Titan is normally easy because you cast Float. It is also easy with Black Mage because you commit war crimes. I forgot the Chimera Brain even existed because spell spam killed it too quickly. Boss is beaten, we convene at the teleport and head to Galoof's world. We take a rest before Lena and Ferris get kidnapped. Zeph fights off the abductor, but is then immediately gassed for his trouble. We control Galoof pretty briefly, but he comes to our rescue. Oh, wait, shut up. It's time for that timeless bop. Battle on the Big Bridge. We just spam Thundara on Gilgamesh. Actually, I'm gonna stop recording gameplay real quick so I can get a recording of this song for a backing track. We beat Gilgamesh, again, but then we are thrown far afield by Exdeath's barrier. Newtown has new armor, and finally, some high potions. We still have 2 characters without flame rings, so this is very useful to shore up our healing. Into this cave as we try to get home. We rescue this Moogle from a Tyrannosaur skeleton by spamming fire at it. It does counter attacks, but thankfully my damage has just never dropped off, so it doesn't matter. In Moogle Village, we grab some items before it is revealed that Krile, Galoof's granddaughter, can commune with Moogles. For reasons. She has her own unrelated dragon that she can come pick us up with. Castle Val has new equipment and its very own item shop. One thing I won't notice until later is the spottiness of status healing items that are available in this game. We will come back to this. Next, Krile's dragon is sick for some reason, so we need to journey out to gather some healing herbs to fix this dragon. And if this sounds like something we've already done once in this game, you are correct. But no time, we must head for the werewolf town. Why is there just a werewolf town in this game? I know I keep pointing out weird things, but really, Final Fantasy V is a profoundly weird entry in the series. Climb the mountain the dragon herbs are on, and it's time to face a killer plant. Which does have boss mechanics, I swear, but it turns out if you just all cast fire repeatedly, it doesn't have mechanics. Back to Castle Ball, and Lena eats poison. Again, so we must increase the poison counter. I think this is actually the last time she gets poisoned in this story, but I wanted to point it out because it happens 3 times, all related to dragons. But the dragon is healed, so we have flying transit now. time to talk to a sage, and his island is sunk by X-Death, because of course it is. Fly over to the invasion fleet, ready to attack X-Death. We do some fighting and face Gilgamesh again. Thanks to poison rods and our new bio spell, he and his definitely platonic friend Gido go down very quickly. Seriously, my healing may have been more limited than Final Fantasy I, but at least my damage continues to keep pace. Dealing strong damage is never going to be an issue in this run. X-Death's forces momentarily beaten, it's time to take a submarine. Okay. To the base of the barrier tower, which is accessible underwater via submarine. We scale the tower and fight Atomos. I briefly try to keep everyone alive, but that does not work. Atomos only spams Comet until someone is actually dead. Then it slowly drags them into itself instead of doing anything else. Which is not ideal for that person, but it does mean everyone else can freely blast it with spells. Barrier broken and submarine properly acquired, we can finally visit Sage Gido, whose island has been sunk, but that is apparently fine, because he is a turtle. The sage gives us this magic branch, which will give us access to an evil forest. Alright, evil forest. And X-Death burns it down around us. For some reason. Fortunately, this does not impact us in any way, as we are rescued by a Moogle. I'm unclear why X-Death did this. No time to get into the plot not making any sense. We have a fight against 4 crystals that align with ours, or something. The crystal phase is actually really bad. We can spam fire magic to burn down 3 of the 4 crystals. However, the 4th crystal absorbs fire and is immune to both ice and lightning, which is not good. I equip a better dagger and spend a while painstakingly chipping away at the last crystal. In this final phase, it does nothing but spam fire magic, which 2 of my party members absorb, and Ferris is immune to it. So the rest of the fight goes easily, if slowly. We then have some big emotional cutscenes, but put simply, Galoof is out and Krile is in. Stakes firmly established, we infiltrate X-Death's castle. Krile sees through the illusion, and we can progress through his flesh palace? Hate that sentence. And another Gilgamesh fight. Spam bio, and it ends pretty quickly. The rest of the castle is very easy, and I get to skip the optional Esper fight with Carbuncle because I don't care about it. First fight against X-Death goes very badly because my HP and MP are not topped off. Second attempt goes much better by just spamming Firaga with flame rods. Wow, I really love flame rods. Too late though, and X-Death merges World 1 and World 2. This means everything is now in one place, which is neat, but our quest continues. Ferris is also a princess, so she and Lena do some princess stuff while Zeph and Krile sneak off to continue the plot. Except Ferris hates being a princess and has to rescue us from a pit after an uneventful fight with an antlion. Continue on, and we reunite with Gido. X-Death merged the 2 worlds to get access to void powers, cause nihilism I guess. But the ancient library has been re-merged, so Gido gives us a sheet of paper, which in theory opens the paths to the tablets that can give us access to 12 legendary weapons. Only 2 of these will matter in any capacity. We head back into the Sandworm Desert, which is now no longer slidey, I guess, to get our first tablet. Thanks to the fights, we finally unlock our first, and only, secondary ability, MP plus 30%. Which is actually super useful. First tablet acquired, we are attacked by Lena, who we assumed was consumed by the void, but is actually possessed. Thankfully, the possessing entity is vulnerable to fire. The ancient library is then consumed by the void, so we are on our own. But we have our airship, so it's time for some globetrotting. First trip is to the Phantom Village, now freed from stasis by the joining of the 2 worlds. History was consumed by the void, but conveniently they also sell flame rings here. Full party heals are now mine. We can then fly to this legendary castle to unlock 3 weapons with our tablet. We grab the Magus Rod, Assassin's Dagger, and a third weapon that doesn't matter even slightly for our purposes. The Magus Rod boosts all elemental spells? Nice. The Assassin's Dagger might be useful if we need to do some physical attacks later on. Next, I want to do Fork Tower to get Flare, except I can't. I need to do the Island Shrine first. The dungeon itself is boring, but the boss has a semi-interesting mechanic where only one of these 4 copies is real. And if you multi-target him, he counters with the powerful Frost spell. Except Flame Rings means my entire party is immune to the damage of Frost, so I can multi-target Firaga to determine which copy is real with no danger from his reprisal. Then single target the real one, repeat as needed. Fork Tower is now unlocked, and I need to deal with its gimmick. One half is magic, and the other half is physical. Using magic on the physical side is bad, and vice versa. Except what the game considers magic is really weird, meaning I can just spam Flame Rods against the Minotaur, because Flame Rods casting Firaga isn't magic, I guess. The Omniscient on the other side is trickier. He can cast a bunch of statuses, and I have just now realized I can't cure many of them. This includes Silence, which is not ideal. Fortunately, Firaga deals a lot of damage. He also occasionally likes to target me with Blizzaga, which does no damage, and Firaga, which heals me. With this victory, we have finally acquired Flare, the ultimate black magic. With Flare acquired and the other legendary weapons worthless, it's time to brave the Interdimensional Rift. Also, I love that we arrive and all these scary figures are here waiting for us, but if you paid attention to the cutscenes, they were told not 10 minutes ago to stop us from getting the tablets that will unlock the legendary weapons, and they just did nothing. Quiet quitting, eh? Nobody wants to work these days. Whatever, it's end of game boss rush time. Calliophestri starts off as a big problem as she casts Reflex on herself, which I have no way around. I decide to try to use Osmos, which cannot be reflected, to burn down her MP pool, but then she casts Reflect on Zeph for some reason I'm not super clear on, so I can just reflect all my spells off him to kill her. Alright then. A panda is weak to fire. This does not go well for it. Catastrophe loves to spam Earthshaker, which deals a lot of damage to my whole party, and I can't use Float to try and evade it at all. But I have 4 Flame Rings, so I just make sure one party member always has a full ATB gauge to fully heal my party with Firaga whenever I need to. Halicarnassus loves to inflict a bunch of obnoxious status effects, but he too is not immune to Firaga spam. RIP. Twintania is the most dangerous boss so far. It loves to spam all targeting magics and will counter any spells with its Mega Flare attack, which is strong enough to kill my entire party. Too bad it loses its death immunity when it charges Giga Flare. Womp womp. Gilgamesh isn't even pretending to be a real fight this time. He thinks we're monsters, and we just need to smack him around a bit to wake him up. He still takes longer than most of the other bosses in the Rift because he is very, verbose. Necrophobe is immune to everything while his barrier is up, and the barrier nodes may be vulnerable to death, but they also have Reflect, which I have no counter to. Good thing this fight is actually completely optional, so I just bypass it completely. And with all the bosses in the Interdimensional Rift having been fought or successfully ignored, we go up against Exdeath. It takes some time, and his White Hole attack, inflicting death and petrify, is really rough to deal with, considering my limited healing options, but we beat Phase 1. All that remains is Neo Exdeath. And we get demolished. Yeah, I honestly didn't think we'd even get this far on our first attempt. I didn't really have a strategy, and I'm pretty underleveled for this point in the game, so my only plan was really spam Firaga and hope. Let's get some levels and reassess our strategy for this fight. We get up to level 40 and rejoin the fight, and it's still not great. We do usually make it to Neo X Death, though if we leave Tree X Death with less than 10,000 HP, he will spam Meteor, which completely destroys us, and then Neo X Death is a problem. He has 4 main attacks. Physical attacks, which take out half to 3/4 of a single party member's health. Almageist, which can miss, but otherwise kills anyone it hits. Grand Cross, which inflicts every party member with a different, random status effect. Some aren't too bad, some are, and only some I can cure. And finally, Delta Attack, which deals damage and petrifies one ally. Neo X Death is also made up of 4 separate segments corresponding to his attacks. They must be killed individually, and if only one is left alive, he will absolutely devastate the party. While I do occasionally land Petrify on the middle section, which eliminates it in one cast, that is not quite enough. Time to leave the rift and actually prep for the final fight. A brief ride on Boko gets us the magic lamp. This unleashes a series of summons when used in sequence. Its true value, though, I'll reveal shortly. I also purchased 99 flame rods from Karnak, which also have some hidden value to them. I used the remaining tablets I've gotten randomly doing other things to grab some legendary weapons. I am briefly excited that Masamune can be used to cast haste, before learning I can't actually use it. Presumably because black mages can't use katanas in battle? Oh well, would have been nice. Preparation complete, it's time to hop back into the fight. I tear through X-Death as normal, then it's time to start my plan. By using the magic lamp 3 times in a row, I unleash Bahamut, Leviathan, and Odin. Bahamut and Leviathan do deal damage to all segments, but they actually deal less damage than I had hoped. Odin, however, has a unique function in this fight, always unleashing his Zantetsuken ability, which kills the rear section in a single hit. From there, I nail Break on the middle section to petrify it and kill it, also in a single cast. So, at this point all that remains is the front section and its powerful physical attacks, and the top section and its status infliction. The fight gets close in a couple places, really close in fact. The status effects that I can be inflicted with can be incredibly devastating, and the physical attacks are no joke either. But now I unleash my final trap card, all those flame rods I bought. These cast Firaga on all enemies, which is a spell I can just normally cast, except, unlike when I cast Firaga from a character's menu, Firaga cast from the flame rods deals full damage to all enemies rather than only half. This lets me burn down the remaining section's HP way more quickly than I would be able to otherwise. This is huge, considering I still almost die at several points, but some quick healing manages to get me back on my feet each time, and before too much longer, Neo X Death goes down, and Final Fantasy V is beaten. Alright, that was a really fun run. My damage started off great, and really only increased as I gained access to the elemental rods and better spells. Unlike Final Fantasy I, where magic damage drops off, I don't really feel like that ever happened here. Healing was still a pretty big issue, or at least it was for the first half of the game. Once I got those flame rings, I could actually heal my party more effectively than in a casual run. But this just ended up highlighting all the statuses I had no way of dealing with. Silence, slow, etc. just don't have any cure without time magic or white magic, which was really bad. The inclusion of the magic lamp, and that Odin could kill a Neo X Death segment, was huge. And Flame Rod's not having reduced damage against multiple enemies was amazing. And despite what I needed to win, I felt like this boss was better designed than Chaos before it. It wasn't a huge departure in difficulty from prior fights, it just highlighted the gaps in my versatility only using black mages. Whereas Chaos was kinda just a huge difficulty spike for no reason. And, oh right, I forgot this game has a whole big epilogue series of cutscenes. Weird. Well, we aren't watching these. Oh, and there is also a post, or I guess mid-credit rundown of your characters. I missed Krile because I'd stopped recording, but look at all my final stats. All at level 40 and only 2 abilities learned. Amazing. But with that, Final Fantasy V is over, and we will meet again next Friday to go through the final game in this series, Final Fantasy XII. Have a lovely day.